Okay. All right. We are streaming. Start the Steemit. And start that. Sorry, it takes a while for me to set up. Just got done watching the Susie Dawson's Q&A for hashtag being Julian Assange. It was awesome. Come on, let's go. Come on, let's go. Steemit or DLive is a little bit slow. Hey, Shirley, how's it going? Come on in, Shirley. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. All right. Is it ready? Maybe it's ready. There we go. Go live there. Start streaming. Huh. Yes. All right. I think we are live on DStream as well. So I am all set up. And let me just make sure. Oh. Yeah. And make sure that this is here. And also one-man show. I hope not. Okay. What am I looking for? Give me a few seconds. I'm almost done. There we go. Okay, so I'm all set. What I want to say and talk about, hey Kathleen, how's it going? Is how much hope that Q&A session kind of brought, because if you look at Susie Dawson's YouTube channel, it's not huge. It's not like a very big channel. You don't get a lot of typical views. And where was it? Okay. And let me share my screen. Okay, so here's Susie Dawson's channel. She got that doesn't sound right. 1 month ago. This is recent. You see her channel gets a few views in the hundreds, not nearly as much as it should be. And today, and this is kind of an older one, I didn't refresh the page yet. She had a live Q&A. Kim.com showed up. Dawson showed up. Oh, of course she showed up. Elizabeth Lee Voss showed up. Hey, how's it going, Dave? And then also Joe Booth made a quick, voice appearance, but not really like visual. The Fly was out there collecting questions and some others as well. So thank you, everybody that showed up. It's very awesome to get 516 people. There's actually more than that. I saw maybe up to 542. The one thing that I am a little bit disappointed in is we've got this culture of personality. I don't know what it is. Everyone has their own reasons, but Same Progressive, Debbie Lusignan, she was having a live stream at the same time. You can see I have multiple subscriptions of a lot of different people. 546 people was watching at the same time. About 516 people were watching Susie Dawson. Now, just can you imagine how much that could have just contributed to people watching and knowing? And it's just that, just take that one day off. Just tell people, hey, we've got something important going on over here. We should join in. Just kind of everybody around. All right, go ahead, Dave.
Not for nothing. I messaged Debbie. I messaged Jamal. I messaged Holly Seeliger. I messaged a lot of other people. Listen, not everybody has to show up, and not everybody has to schedule their stuff around that. It is, and also, it is restreamable. I had an amazing time. That they answered like 5 or 6 of my questions, which you know, I love hearing my own questions. It's like hearing my own voice. But you can restream this. It was an amazing experience. Just hearing Kim.com for the first time really speak. I had a false impression of him because I had never heard him speak before. I'm like, who the hell is this guy? He's changed his name to a weird name. He, the whole thing with the Seth Rich thing, which he's trying to distance himself from. I don't know. I don't really understand that whole thing, to be completely honest with you, where he, allegedly told HA that he had all this evidence, and then it was kind of a LeBron James moment where it was like this big, he's going to reveal it, and nothing was revealed. That's the only thing that I knew about him.
Yeah.
But now that you heard, you actually hear him speak, it's like, okay. But people don't have to.
They don't have to
not compete.
No, it's look. This is where I'm going to disagree with you, Dave, and that's just it, right? Yeah. And you've got everyone has to take part, and everyone, yes, they like watching just the people they like to watch. That's just how it is. But this was kind of a big night for Susie Dawson, Elizabeth Voss, and Kim.com. And you saw so many of the smaller little people, like I guess us, we would say we're average normal people.
Right.
We just work our normal jobs, and we come out here and we talk about stuff, we plan on stuff, we coordinate with stuff, we do whatever we can try to do. Come on, what's with that occultism stuff there? I'm about to boot you out.
Occultism stuff, man. Quit being a little girl.
Yeah, I'm gonna stop your video and just have you.
That's actually a friend of mine drew that.
Okay.
That's the one eye and the 5 fingers.
Was it John Podesta that drew that for you?
His art collection is beyond the pale, man. Like, I realize, okay, like someone's art collection, it doesn't necessarily tell you everything about them, but it tells you something about them.
Like he is a drug user?
Like he enjoys the rape and torture of innocents.
Oh, okay.
That's what it tells me. Are you familiar with his art collection, Dave?
Who, this guy?
Of Podesta.
Oh, I'm talking about this guy. I don't know. No, but Podesta is a scumbag. And yes, a little bit.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah. This dude, he intended this one was going to be part of a tarot deck. The one I've got up.
Okay. That makes sense.
So yeah, it is some occult shit, Evan.
It's
go back to clutching your Bible, sir.
I'd rather clutch that than that hand.
The hand of Satan.
Kind of my point, and I'll jump off of it, is the people that were watching the Parkland thing, I don't know how much of those people were actually taken away from the WikiLeaks, and if they would have watched anyway. there's no way to know. I know what you're saying, and if anyone,
but do you think
anyone missed it, they need to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
They do.
Do you think? Because I did see Hard Bastard on too, and
okay,
yeah, but I did see Bullshit Man in there. The thing is, like, we haven't had because we saw H.A. Goodman interview Susie Dawson. We've seen Lee Camp did an interview with Susie Dawson. Yeah. I mean,
I'd actually give Hard Bastard a little more shit than Sane Progressive, because Hard Bastard, he works with H.A. Goodman, and I would think that he would,
But he doesn't typically do interviews that much.
No, I'm not even talking about that. I'm saying that he would be more plugged into the WikiLeaks thing.
Yeah,
I would imagine.
True.
Sane Progressive, not so much.
She goes into deep state stuff.
She does.
And this as much as you can go into fighting the deep state. I mean, is
Jesus Christ. I believe that people are falling into this Parkland story, and it's a diversion trap. I do agree with you there. There are other stories out there that can be covered. What's the deal with Parkland? Why is this one so much more important than any other shooting? And why so much attention, and why so much media, and why so much money pouring into this thing?
Well, it's also, you have to think about the amount of money and the amount of media attention that the mainstream media is doing on it. So
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. There's also, so that draws in a lot of the independent media, because they don't want them to just take over that entire narrative. And so you've got a lot more pushback with independent media with the mainstream.
Right.
Media. That's why it's so big, and that's why it's so important, because it's focusing right now in that moment of Parkland, and then going into the Second Amendment. You've got even the NRA in on it now. And these marches that are coming, which so people who don't know, on March 24th, I'm going to go out to the Boston Commons, where they're coordinating this big march, the March for Our Lives, with students and all this other stuff in Boston. And I'm going to go and try to film it live.
When is that?
I think it's at noon to 4 p.m. on Saturday, March 24th.
Okay.
I'm going to try my best to make it out there.
I'll be in Connecticut.
Okay. You
missed it by a couple of, if it was Friday, I probably, well, actually Thursday I could have done it, but
yeah.
I'll be in Connecticut.
Yeah, we would get lynched. You know what? If I probably wore a hat that was for not the NRA hat, but like gun owners for America, because they're getting the least amount of coverage, I think.
Yeah.
Gun owners of America, they are non-negotiable for gun rights. Second Amendment shall not be infringed. That's their entire organizational premise. And NRA, there's kind of a lot of kickback about the NRA, because that they're kind of folding in and saying, yeah, we'll go background checks, we'll go bump stocks, we'll go all this other stuff.
Well, the NRA was for that decades ago, and it doesn't make any sense for them. You would think that checks and balances and sane, accountability laws and rules would be fine with the NRA, because the NRA wants reasonableness, but I don't think that is the way it is anymore.
Well, the NRA has no interest in resolving the gun issue in the U.S. one way or the other.
Well, that's because they want people to be afraid. Fear causes more gun sales.
Well, as an organization, their whole organization is based around this issue. If it were to be resolved, there'd be no more use for them.
Well, it's never going to be resolved.
Well, you know what I mean. Like, that's part of the problem, is the fact.
Higher the tensions and the more banning of guns, the higher the gun sales are going to be.
And I think I'm starting to take this stand, and people aren't going to like it, and I'm just going to keep arguing for it, is that the more that we keep arguing for taking our rights away, that our constitutional rights, stuff that's in our Bill of Rights, all of that stuff that they're trying to take away little by little because of fear, because of mainstream media narratives, whatever it is, I'm against it. I'm taking that initial stance. I'm against taking more of our rights away. It doesn't matter what it is. I'm just going to find and take that stance.
Well, including the right to expression and the right to speaking truth and what you were talking about. Going back to Debbie, I mean, First Amendment rights and the right not to be silenced, I mean, that speaks straight to Julian Assange.
Mm-hmm.
So I know she's been attacking the whole Parkland thing, and that's been her, chew toy for a while, and especially after, and no, she's not a dog. That just came into my head. Sorry, I don't one jump me, but Las Vegas was what started it with saying progressive, I think. And now she's on it. She's on all this gun stuff, all the shooting stuff, and she's attacking it and attacking, what's going on. Is this a false narrative? Is this, blah, blah, blah.
But I think when we take that stance for just each little position, whether it's First Amendment, Second Amendment, Third Amendment, Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, Sixth Amendment, whatever, it's all about the real underlying thing is, do we want to take more of our rights away and have the government control it? Because you know what? The government and the ones in power and the wealthy, they have more rights than individual citizens. Corporations, you could go ahead and add to that list. They have more rights than you, me, Stevie, Garden, anyone else that's watching here. They got more rights than us. And because they're in positions of power, we are a nation of equals. At least that's what it was supposed to be, but it's not the way it is now. And
I am moving away. I'm kind of swaying back and forth. I know that for the longest time I was considered a lefty. I'm moving more towards a center again, because when you have the authoritarian...
So you're a neoliberal?
No.
I'm just kidding. Starting to watch TYT and shit.
The authoritarian left or the authoritarian right, get rid of all guns. No. It's not gonna work.
Mm-hmm.
Shut down anyone who may have talked to anyone from Russia in the past 50 years. No, that's not going to work either. Mm-hmm. I mean, all of the censorship, all of the stuff about, controlling people and not allowing them to have guns. Those are two of our rights that people, fight for all the time. The whole flag burning thing or the kneeling thing. The kneeling thing to me is kind of silly, but not really, because you're taking away someone's right to protest.
Mm-hmm. Well, again, I mean, as far as these organizations go, they don't operate on ideas or ideology. Okay, the NRA, the more the gun issue is resolved, the less powerful they become. They don't want it resolved. They will keep finding things. And it's the same thing with the other side in these issues. Like, we can't look for these large organizations to solve our problems. Liberals have a tendency to run to the ACLU, which I still think is a somewhat valuable organization. But, increasingly it's been politicized over the decades. ACLU is showing the same symptoms of, we don't want to solve problems.
Right.
We want to perpetuate them so we can maintain our political power.
Well, to go back to this, the theme and what we just came back from, mm-hmm. Kim.com had a very good point, and yes, it was an answer to one of my stories.
I think we're in the same wavelength here. Go ahead.
The Russia narrative.
Oh, damn it.
The Russia narrative. We don't want resolution, because when we have resolution, that solves the problem, and the deep state doesn't want that, because they love conflict, because that's what keeps the money flowing. And that's what keeps the game going.
Well, unfortunately, we built our world on a specific set of paradigms.
Yeah,
and one of the most important paradigms is Russia versus US. So much of our operations work on that premise, and so much of our systems, actually the core of them, are based on that premise.
One thing that I had takeaway on with Kim.com talking was he was talking about the UK. They don't have the same types of rights as us. Our battle is, even though the deep state's in our backyard, we have the backing of the U.S. Constitution.
Right.
But you go to the UK, they've got their monarchy. They don't have those rights as us.
We escaped that. That was the whole reason we got. And by the way, I think Stevie is a Russian bot.
Agreed.
She's black. You can't see her. You can't hear her.
She just comes on.
Never know.
Quiet. How's it going?
Drinking her vodka. How you doing, Stevie? Sort of.
Doing good.
What was your thoughts on the Q&A? I saw you in there a little for.
Yeah, I caught like the last, I don't know, maybe 30, 45 minutes of it. Because, of course, I didn't get a notification. But yeah, what I watched, it was good stuff, really good stuff. And I haven't checked out Twitter because everybody was tweeting. So I still need to check out the hashtag and do all that.
Eric was having like a freaking tweetgasm.
I bet he was.
Oh yeah, and before I forget, Ebon, I just wanted to thank you and Fly for reading that. That was how did that take? 3+ hours?
It took almost 4.
Yeah. So nice job.
Oh, thanks.
It took me forever just to read it myself. Having to read it out loud, that was pretty tough.
Yeah, and I haven't gotten through the sublinks. I mean, that thing is dense.
Yeah. I think it would be good to just try to do like Kim.com mentioned, is that whole thing. If you read it aloud, it takes 4 hours. If you might read it all by yourself, if you're a fast reader, you could probably get it done in about 30 minutes, I would say. But then if you can get that down to like a 20-minute just summary of each part, I think that would be a good start for a lot of people who don't want to spend that inordinate amount of time on one like a novella. It's the size of a novella, maybe. I don't know.
I forget what book they mentioned, but there is a short novel, and it's like a famous one, and it's longer than that. I want to say it was some Hemingway novel.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I said. We should have our own like Decipher You, where we break down Susie's article just piece by piece. Because I mean, I have even looked at all the links that are in there. I mean, I'm sure there's just 10 times more information than I've even read.
Yeah.
No, there is.
You don't need to, because Susie did a pretty good job of just kind of taking what was pertinent from those links.
Oh, okay.
So if you go to the links, some of it, of course, aren't there. But when you go, you can actually read the entire article on basically what Susie Dawson's kind of focusing on.
Right.
You don't have to.
What I really liked about that was, I mean, I know that most of us have heard a lot of the stuff that she talked about in that article, but to see it all laid out all together, I mean, that was I think it was really important that she did that, because, I mean, it adds up. I mean, you don't really think about the things individually, but when you think, gosh, I mean, they're hitting him on all sides, and this is what they're going to do. It's not just right now people see it as his problem or a whistleblower problem, but this is a problem for everybody. Anybody that wants to go out and speak the truth about this stuff, your life is going to be at risk. Well, so yeah, we got to stand up for people like him before it happens to the rest of us.
Yeah.
Like him, don't like him. Adrian Lamo died yesterday. Nobody's really been told how he died, whether he was killed. He died under suspicious circumstances. He's the one that basically turned turned Bradley Manning in at the time she was Bradley Manning, and everybody vilifies him, but he was part of Source Drop. So, we've already had 3 Source Drop deaths. We had Dolan, we had Aaron Schwartz, and now we have this guy. So something's going on, obviously. And people are just considered, I don't know, liabilities or information points. They're not considered human beings.
Well, even beyond just journalists getting squelched and possibly assassinated and stuff, we're seeing diplomats and former spies get assassinated on a large scale.
Well, these guys were technicians. The guys who just got, who recently got killed. These 3 gentlemen.
Well, we're also seeing it at the diplomatic level, which is the most disconcerting. Like, RU diplomat his head blown off in public or whatever, and Kim Jong Nam assassinated, and then this latest spy assassinated. I mean, the list goes on and on. There's been like 10 or 15 in the past couple of years,
right?
And that shows a real international breakdown in international order, because those people are controlled by the people behind the scenes.
Where the hell is James?
When these behind the scenes people can't get along, that means we're in trouble.
Oh, okay.
Hey, James, I don't want to worry you, but you got 2 people in suits trailing you.
They're onto you.
Hey, James. Hey, you got 2 people behind you in suits that are just kind of following you.
They're Trader Joe, they're competitors.
As far as claiming, like, every time a journalist gets assassinated or a technician gets assassinated or whatever, people have been way too far to jump on the bandwagon with that. People want to believe that there's, like, people like to believe in mysteries. They want a little mystery. So,
it's a difference between mystery and just coincidences that seem to occur all the time in these situations.
You got to be able to vet, though, and it seems to me that a lot of the public has been unable to vet. You got to be able to sort the ones that have some amount of legitimacy to them to the ones that are just sensationalism.
Well, someone who says they have a breaking story tomorrow, and then an hour later they die of a drug overdose, you would think that.
Yeah, like what's his ass who crashed his Mercedes? Who was that?
Michael Hastings.
Yeah, like that one was a bit sketchy. But I think with that one, people were a little bit too quick to jump on it again.
Right.
There just wasn't enough evidence. I mean, that model of Mercedes had a history of fucking blowing up.
Or, Paul Wellstone.
That one's more legitimate, if you ask me. That one's fairly legitimate. It's one of these fucking plane crashes.
Hey, James, I'm going to mute you while you're shopping.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to hear. Paul Wellstone, I think that's one that, again, as citizens, we'll never know.
Right.
But
Ron Brown, he was
Ron Brown.
He was in a cabinet position. I think he was, what the hell was he? Labor, Department of Labor. I can't.
Oh
remember.
yeah.
Crash into a mountain. And the one that I always go to is Dorothy Kilgallen. I always mention her because she was the reporter who basically said that she had breaking news on the JFK assassination, and people always say, I even saw in YouTube today that the claim is that her claim was that G.H.W. Bush was involved in the assassination. Now, we'll never know because we don't have her notes or her sources or any of that, but that's the claim.
Bush was he was in Dallas. There's pictures of him there, and like he was doing something. He had men around him doing things.
Right. If he was, who knows? But she said she had breaking news on the night that she died that she was going to break the story the next day. 2 hours later, she was found dead in her apartment. So,
remember the guy from Haiti who was going to protest against the Clinton Foundation?
yep.
The night before he ends up, what did he kill himself?
Something like that.
Yeah, he flew all the way from Haiti to drive to DC
to kill himself.
to testify to kill himself.
Who was the guy that they always bring up with Clinton that killed himself in his office?
Oh,
No.
Jesus. Who is it?
You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, it was all. It's just the name is super famous.
One of 500 names.
Yeah, that's why we're having a hard time.
Hey, can whoever's dropping your coin stop that for a while, or at least control your coin? Okay.
I'm not. It's fucking Dave.
It's always Dave.
The one that sticks out in my mind is always Alexander Lebed. And he was a Soviet general who ran for president, all right, at a certain point. But what he did was he began to blab out Soviet nuclear secrets after the fall of the Soviet Union. And he was saying things like, look, suitcase nukes are a reality and a bunch of them are missing.
Right.
And he started like making some real power grabs, right? Well, what do you know? Gets in a fucking helicopter, military pilot, the whole deal. It crashes into some telephone wires and goes down. Like witnesses at the scene say Alexander Lebed walked away from the crash. The ambulance shows up. He gets in the ambulance. He doesn't come out alive. Like he died on the way to the hospital. But that guy had like probably a lot of idea where all of this missing nuclear material that like dissipated out of the USSR after the fall went.
The last question that was asked, it was the first question that I actually asked, and I think the first question that was put on Pirate Pad was, is there any information other than who your sources are that should not be divulged? And Susie and Kim.com had a fantastic answer for that. Anything that could actually nefariously be used, yeah, don't post it. Like computer codes or something like that, or actual places where you can find readily found nitro or whatever. How to build a bomb out of alcohol. All right, let's just stop at what alcohol is James buying now. Is he a Scotch drinker? Okay. On-site investigation.
Start drinking it in the store, Dave or James. Pay him at the register, right?
Wow.
I see people do that in the stores. I'm like, what the hell, man?
I just looked at CPJ, Community to Protect Journalists, and it's like, wow, we really don't have a lot of journalists killed in the U.S. or in Russia, even though when we see a lot of them get killed. I just kind of wonder why. Maybe, let's see. I didn't click that. There you go. We'll show all of them.
Snork says James is robo-tripping. He's buying a bunch of cough medicine.
Really? They can't do it by... they can't be doing it by location? Let's see. Let's go to last, because... 60... My goodness. I guess they don't really have a committee... in the U.S. Wow, not one in the U.S. Isn't that interesting?
Well, yeah, they all killed themselves, like Gary Webb, or
yeah. I mean, I like. So now I'm using DuckDuckGo because first thing that comes up when you actually use Google It's always the Wikipedia these days. First thing that comes up. So DuckDuckGo, you won't get that, which I kind of like. Dong Trong Lam, Vietnamese American journalist.
I do love the red background with the shadow of the gun.
Hard. I mean, there's there's a lot in the old days, but I'm wondering to see if they're going to show people more recent. Okay.
What about the Charlie Hebdo guys?
Yeah.
You know what I thought was another weird death? I think it was the guy that started Black Lives Matter, that they found that he had been killed and put in a car and set on fire, and they never found out who did it.
Damn, I didn't hear about that.
No.
Yeah, it got almost no media attention whatsoever.
You think it would?
Yeah. The whole fact, I mean, that seems like one of those things that'd be like right up Hillary Clinton's, aisle to exploit,
When did that happen, Red?
Oh, this was maybe a year or two ago.
Really?
Wow, I didn't know that.
If it was before the election, that would have made sense. Huh.
Yeah, it was right around that time. It might have been right after the election.
That's crazy.
Well, James,
it's hard to tell, man. It's hard to tell. Like, these people, like powerful people, tend to have all kinds of enemies. So, like us as outsiders, we can say that the people who we perceive as their enemies are the most likely culprits. But the reality is they probably have a variety of enemies that we don't know about. Like some of these people, at least,
Okay. Well, let's see. Charleston Black Lives Matter leader made headlines for attempting to steal a Confederate flag, died Tuesday after being shot in New Orleans. But it wasn't anything about a car.
Oh, see, I didn't even know about this other guy that got killed.
Yeah, this is somebody else.
Which guy, Stevie?
There's one that happened in 2018, the one in New Orleans. I didn't know that there was another actress that got killed.
Let's see here. Yeah, it's the same.
Do you know who it was?
Marshawn McCarroll, possibly.
Well, when was that?
2016.
Sounds about the right time.
Self-inflicted gunshot wound.
Oh, well, I didn't hear it was self-inflicted. Now this guy, they found him in a car, and I think the car was even on fire, like they had been burned or something like that. There was
Damn, there's a bunch of these people.
Is it this guy Muhyiddin Moy, if that's how you pronounce it?
No, that was the guy that I just found.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
You're very choppy there, James. Are you doing your?
It's probably the reception.
Are you doing your monologue out there for 30 minutes?
In the rain. It's starting to rain. No, I was gonna say there's a thing about Russia. You guys heard about it? They're gonna start hacking power grids. That's all over MSNBC right now. That's the new narrative.
I saw that.
So they're going to start hacking power grids. Therefore, I'm getting into the solar industry and start selling solar.
Oh, that's good.
Right?
That'll help with my new coin if once I get cracking.
The last time they claimed Russia hacked a power grid, it was bullshit. So we'll see.
Yeah, they do it all. It's fucking crazy. All right, sorry to bother you guys. Did you guys see what I picked up? Did you see my Boilermaker's mark?
Yeah, we saw it. Go get it.
Yeah, because tomorrow is St. Patrick's Day. St. Patrick's Day tomorrow, and I'm Irish.
Irish for a day.
I'm actually really Irish. I can't believe it. I don't know if that means anything. All right, I'm going to go. I'll talk to you soon. Thanks.
Stevie, I found it. I posted it in chat. I found it.
By the way, Snork was just mentioning, and I had the same thought process. Hacking the grid was invented by Enron's rolling blackouts. Like hacking of the grid, the first thing that came to my mind was Enron. And it's like, damn, Snork. Great minds, I guess.
You're dangerous. Okay, so Ferguson protest leader found shot to death in a burning car. I mean,
yeah, that's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, so Darren Seals, I remember this guy, one of the original protest leaders in Ferguson after the Michael Brown shooting. I remember this.
Yeah, but I remember hearing about this now too.
He was a hip hop musician.
He was kind of pre Black Lives Matter.
He was. Yeah.
Those people sent fucking Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton packing. I was cheering them on, man. They're like, get out of here. You're not going to profit off of like one of our neighbors dying. Told them to get the fuck out.
Let's see.
Okay. I didn't know that. All right, hold on.
That's the theme song for Dave's show, by the way.
Hopefully the stupid game doesn't hit you with a copyright strike.
Well, there's someone who died recently. I'm looking at sunherald.com. There's another journalist death. This is article, but this is in Slovakia. So tens of thousands protests in Slovakia at a journalist death. This is March 9th, 2018. It's about 8 days ago. I mean, do you ever think we can have that here?
No, they probably just think they drank themselves to death or something.
Yeah.
I mean, look at Gary Webb. Was it Gary Webb, the guy who was played by Jeremy Renner, the guy who exposed the whole plan to distribute crack in inner cities? He was destroyed. He was literally destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
Won a Pulitzer Prize and was crushed over that story.
Most people still don't believe that. It's ridiculous. There's so many facts that are, I mean, there's no question about them. There are facts that are straight up on the books, but when you talk to people about them, they begin shouting conspiracy.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's a perfect example. The drug thing, it's admitted it was a war on Black people, on activists. You know, I mean, that's exactly, they said, they admitted to it. And it's a conspiracy to actually say that out loud.
Not only on Black people, but on poor people.
Uh-huh.
That was, you know, yeah, it was primarily minority, but think of Stevie, think of the war on opioids. How many poor people, how many of those people who are addicted to opioids are poorer?
Yep. And now they're doing the laws now between pain pills and heroin, to where it's the same thing between crack and cocaine. It's the same thing, but there's ones for people that can go and get a prescription and has a doctor and has insurance. They're more likely to have money. The people that are doing heroin, they don't have money.
And
they're
this,
the ones getting locked up.
This meth, that's some dangerous shit. But how many people in the United States are prescribed Adderall?
Exactly.
And methamphetamine makes some damn productive workers. It really does. You know it. I know it. I've seen some crazy on meth and cocaine. Oh, we have an epidemic. Yeah, you want productive workers for like an hour.
Yeah, I mean, like, I feel bad for them, but meth addicts were probably the best workers to have that I worked with. I never had to worry about them doing their work, nothing like that. It's like, makes for good workers, but it destroys you in 2 years. So
right.
I hope you don't want teeth. You're a great worker, but then your teeth are gone.
But what about people fighting? Did people fight when they were on that crap?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah, there's a lot, they're more aggressive and, on edge, so fights tend to happen more.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're seeing meth's coming back again.
Let's see.
I guess it's where people are, I don't know, it's where the jobs, or I don't know what causes the meth part.
They're watching Breaking Bad again.
Yeah, it's unfamiliar territory to me. Like, I mean, I don't know too many people that do meth. I'm seeing it more and more in the news and in the statistics, so it ain't looking good.
I only met one guy, but you very rarely hear about somebody who is addicted to LSD. I knew one guy who would dropped acid every day for a year and a half.
Damn.
I was like, yeah, he was.
See, that's the thing about LSD, is that you can't take it every day.
No,
you can, but it won't have an effect on you. I've tried it myself.
This guy had both of his legs broken. You remember that scene in Austin Powers where the guy gets hit by the steamroller? This guy literally got run over by a steamroller that was 500 yards away. He was like, for 10 minutes and wouldn't get out of the way because he was so fucked up.
Well, what happens is you take it, right? And you have an LSD trip. Right. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can take it and then ride it all the way through and then it's over. Or about 4 or 5 hours in, you can have another dose. And it will prolong the overall effect. But if you do it the first way, it will stop at the end of the time period. And literally, there's been studies on this, the limited studies that there are on psychedelics, that it just doesn't kick your brain into that serotonin hyped state if you do it within a certain amount of time afterwards. So the people who if you're taking it every day and you're feeling fucked up, it's probably because you're not sleeping and eating right.
Not only that, but he would take it within the time frame. He had a whole sheet at one point. It would just right as he figures out he's about to come down, he would take another one.
Yeah, you can time it.
Boom. He just went into this endless loop. And I kind of feel bad for a guy, but it's dude.
LSD has different effects on different people, man. Some people, it just makes them dumb, they're drunk. Other people, it provides profound, insight. Other people, it, has been proven to help with depression and anxiety and all of this. And that, in fact, was its original use, was as a psychiatric drug, although it was discovered by accident. But they're talking there's been expanded research lately into they've reintroduced some psychedelic research in the United States, and I'm happy about that. I think these drugs do have benefits.
Okay, so Donald Trump just tweeted about McCabe. and I'll just read it. I was gonna post it, but Andrew McCabe fired. A great day for the hardworking men and women of the FBI. A great day for democracy. Sanctimonious James Comey was his boss and made McCabe look like a choir boy. He knew all about the lies and corruption going on at the highest levels of the FBI. My question, when somebody says stuff like that, how would you know that he knows about the highest levels of corruption? You must know about it as well. So let's fire your dumb ass too. I'm sorry, dude, you can't say shit like that. How does Donald Trump know that McCabe is privy to all FBI corruption?
Mm-hmm.
And why are you praising the FBI when you just admitted to corruption? This is what taking LSD does to you. You get put in a loop, an information loop. Anyway.
You don't know jack shit, Dave. You don't know shit, man.
It's all in your mind, man.
Open your mind. What is it from Total Recall? That thing that came out of his gut.
Yeah.
Open your mind, Dave.
So I just had a question for you guys. What are your thoughts on deaths of journalists that work for the bigger media? Do they look suspicious at all, or do you think that's suspicious in the other way? For example, when you're looking at the death of Michael Kelly, editor-at-large of The Atlantic and a columnist for The Washington Post, and Stephen Vincent, who contributed to the Christian Science Monitor and National Review. I mean, those are pretty much news media companies that we would not really follow or agree with. But when they're killed in, say, Iraq,
you would have to investigate it. You'd have to know. I mean, if there are any, here's the thing: if there is nothing to go on, and nothing is being shown as far as what I'm not asking for their sources. What were they working on? What were the last 2 or 3 stories? Were they actually reporting in kind of a sequential manner? Next, I'm going to tell you who killed JFK or whatever. Then, yeah, it depends on what they were working on, what they were speaking about at the time. They may have just gotten killed in Iraq because it's a dangerous place. I mean, you go to Yemen right now. South Africa is dangerous, especially for a white guy. It's extremely dangerous right now. So you're putting yourself in harm's way. It's possible that it's because you put yourself in harm's way, but it may also be what you were reporting on. But there's no way to know that until you know the circumstances behind it. Webb, I honestly think he killed himself, but I think that people drove him to that.
That's a good point. You can't rule that out because, I mean, you look at the way that they put pressure on people. They don't, I mean, they did it to Martin Luther King Jr., right? Try to get him to kill himself. So that's probably like the first thing they go to is like, well, before we try to kill him, let's just try to get them to do it themselves.
I can see that.
Yeah, they sent him a bunch of letters. We know about your affairs. Like, we're going to ruin you. You might as well end it now. And again, that's a matter of public record. Like, you can go look at those letters. It's not a fucking conspiracy theory. I get very frustrated. Like,
it's conspiracy theory because you just mentioned it as a conspiracy theory, Gardner.
I waver, dude. Sometimes I'm ultra skeptical,
like people to think.
But at the same time, like, you know, there are fucking facts out there, and people need to pay attention to them.
Mm-hmm. It's funny how it gets to the point of, hey, you're talking about that. That's conspiracy theorist territory. You really want to go there? It's like, no, it's not conspiracy theorist territory. Yeah, I'm just trying to tell you facts. Oh no, that's I just saw that on a YouTube video. It's definitely conspiracy theory. And then that just pretty much debunks whatever you're gonna say just because, hey, I just mentioned that. You know, it's kind of like when Donald Trump says, someone said this guy is a rapist. I didn't say this guy is a rapist, but I hear people saying he's a rapist. You know, he doesn't say it outright that he's saying. He's just saying that he heard other people say it. And so people don't think that guy's a rapist. I mean, he does the same thing as a lot of what the mainstream operatives would say.
Well, I hate to tell some of these people, but the world runs on conspiracies on every single level. A conspiracy is a group of people working together in one level of secrecy or another to accomplish a goal. The people at the company you work at form conspiracies constantly. It's part of every business model. It infiltrates. You know, it's a reflection of human behavior. Now, some people think that magically this stops once you get up to the elite levels.
No.
Like then they start following the rule of law, and you know,
like every other day. Dave, you know the building's closing, right? It's not closing. That's what people who know the building's closing would want you to think. Dude, stop it. And by the way, it's Vince Foster. Vince Foster.
Oh, Vince Foster. That's right.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah.
That's what you want us to think. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's why I tell people you got to find your constant. You need someone who will ground you and keep you grounded, so you don't go where everything is a conspiracy.
Right.
Yeah, and that's the problem I was having with. I was watching that alien guy that Jamal had on the other night.
That alien guy.
I don't remember his name, but they were talking about the UFOs, and this guy was like so sure. He's like, well, if the government didn't want us to know about this, they just wouldn't talk about it. They wouldn't go through the effort of doing disinformation. I'm like, buddy, 9/11, weapons of mass destruction, Russiagate. Like, there's so many instances of they don't want you to find out the truth about something, so they distract you with disinformation. I'm not saying the guy was wrong or nothing, but for that to be your logic, it's like that. Nah, I mean, doesn't make much sense.
Yeah, I wasn't really buying a lot of what that guy was selling. I listened to that whole interview. Like, one of his things was that they went to record some evidence of some UFO or some paranormal activity, but they couldn't get evidence because the beings that they were trying to follow or watch were time distorted, so they could see events in the future and therefore preempt any of the efforts of the investigators to provide proof.
It makes me think of Star Trek, you know, where they'd have those time travel episodes, just like, oh no, there's been a disturbance in the gravitron field or whatever they called it. Oh my gosh. So they're at a different time, so we can't, it doesn't translate. Makes sense. Science. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, I really do think that there are aliens. You know, it's like, I mean, it's insane to think that we're the only sentient life in the universe. You know?
Well, here's the thing, though. Say that there are advanced alien species that are out there. They visited Earth, and they've been here for a long time. Do you think they'd have the capability of being hidden or in secret? I think so. I mean, that's always a possibility. We know that there are people in this world that are human, can be behind the scenes and in secret that people like you and me wouldn't know about. I'm pretty sure that there are.
Oh yeah, man, it's completely possible, but we're just talking about evidence here.
Yeah,
anything is possible.
Sure. Right. I mean, it's just that level of belief. Like, how far are you going to take it? Like, Stevie just believes that there are aliens out there. I would say it's more likely than not that there are there are alien life out there in the universe than there are not. But then then you have to take into consideration, have they been here before? Have they been in the solar system? Have they been in Earth? I mean, there's been life for millions, if not billions of years, however basic in Earth, you know. Is that something that throughout all this time, maybe some advanced alien civilization happened to go past and say, hey, let's just write this planet down because it looks like we might see something up in a couple million or whatever years. We don't know how an advanced alien civilization will just kind of catalog things. I'm just like how we catalog things here on Earth. Our scientists, our botanists, or our animal, or our zoologists, you know?
Yeah, you know, it's completely possible. And like people have laid out all kinds of theories as to why we can't detect any life outside of Earth. Like, you know, there's a bunch of theories. One of the ones that I was reading that was kind of interesting was that we're too close to a black hole and we don't know it. And that's what's making the universe seem infinite to us. And it's also what is the reason why why there doesn't seem to be any life around us. Because most of the life that got anywhere near this fucking thing is dead.
I have not heard of that one. I'll have to look that one up.
Well, it's, you know, I'm not a physicist, but it kind of makes sense because it would, like, being that close to a black hole would bend time and space to a degree that it would seem to curve back in on itself, thus making it appear infinite. And some of it is a reflection of what's outside of the black hole. So, like, we're not really getting an accurate picture of what's around us. We're seeing kind of like a mirror, like a time and space mirror.
I wonder how far we'd have to travel out before the black hole wouldn't interfere with it.
All right, so we're going past off the topic. So let's if we want to talk about this, let's switch it to an anything goes. So people here that are watching, I think we're gonna switch off. So stay on. People on Zoom, go and stay on. First, I want to thank Susie Dawson, Elizabeth Voss, Kim.com, Joe Booth, The Fly, everybody who's involved with the entire thing that happened with the Q&A live discussion, everybody who was retweeting, tweeting. I mean, I've seen, it was a Twitter storm. Eric, that guy is awesome. Susie's here. Oh, Susie, you're awesome. We are definitely going to love watching the future live streams, and definitely would love to keep talking about it afterwards, even though we do seem to kind of go off onto other tangents. Last thing we'll watch before I collapse in this thing. That's awesome, Susie. All right, so Fly, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, hey Susie, good to see you here. That was a wonderful presentation. And thank you so much for everything that you do. We all truly support you and respect everything that you're doing. We all love you, Susie.
Yeah,
thanks, Susie, for stopping by. That's so cool.
I know. That is awesome. Yeah, we would love to talk to you one day, but I know you have some long and arduous days. But anytime you want to come in and talk, we would all love it. Or if you want to set up like a specific date time, I would love it. But it just felt so great coming in, watching Kim.com talk for first time I've ever seen him talk. And also just all the people that came in, like 500 or so people. And it was just a lot of people that I recognized. And even people I watch that don't come on here, that I actually watch, and it's just awesome. It's awesome. So, all right. So we'll be going offline, and so people on Zoom, come stay on. We'll probably start talking about aliens.
No worries.
Okay.